Hey guys, this is Jonathan Reich, a licensed CPA in the state of Louisiana, but not your licensed CPA. Today we're going to talk about how to check the status of your ERC refund, kind of what the ERC is. It'll be a brief but thorough video that kind of covers all topics related to that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to quickly talk about what the ERC is, how to apply for it, what the expected waiting period is, and then we're going to actually jump into the meat and potatoes of it, which is how to check your refund status online, some of the common reasons for delays, and then how to contact the IRS for assistance. We'll advocate the pros and cons of using professionals to apply for the ERC or to have them follow up on your behalf, as well as how to track your refund, and then we'll wrap it up with some FAQs and common thoughts on this process. So what exactly is the ERC? Most business owners at this point are pretty familiar with it, especially if they qualified for it. There's also several articles and videos out on thedigitalmerchant.com that I have covered on this topic. The ERC is basically a refundable payroll tax credit that helped to stabilize the economy in 2020 and 2021. Essentially what it is if I was going to furlough my workers or lay them off, I'm a small business owner and I can't afford to keep the doors open because COVID has disrupted my entire business. When I lay those people off, they no longer have a paycheck. And because they no longer have a paycheck, they no longer go to other small businesses, which causes them to have to close their doors and fire their workers. And so now you've got all these people who are part of this cycle to where a bunch of businesses are now about to collapse, and the government doesn't want that because they want economic stability. It's the job of the government to maintain order, and so they quickly threw together the ERC to help stabilize the economy and keep these employees on payrolls to prevent that from happening. Who can claim the ERC? Any businesses or business owners who experienced a decline in revenue or were subject to government mandate shutdowns. We're not really going to jump into that right now, but that's kind of the basic gist of it. So why do we care about ERC refunds? Lots of people get tax refunds every year. Well, we care about the ERC refunds because they can often be thousands or hundreds of thousands, and in some cases millions of dollars. That helps these employers who were affected in 2020 and 2021 to, recover that money and allow them to put it back into their business for capital projects, any debt that they need to pay off, stuff like that. And so we want to ensure that they know how to apply for it, and then also how to see where the refund is in the queue of processing, because as of lately, some ERC refunds can take months, or I've even had one with a certain client that's taken 2.5 years to get the money that they were rightfully owed. Now, granted, it was a larger refund in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, but 2.5 years is a long time to wait for a tax refund. Real brief. How do we apply for the ERC? First, collect all the necessary information. That's going to be payroll records, payroll taxes paid, financial debt statements from 2020, 2021, government mandate shutdown orders, stuff like that. Then you're going to fill out a Form 941X, which is basically a form that does a look back for your payroll taxes to those periods of 2020 and 2021. You're going to send that to the IRS along with any supporting documents like those things I just mentioned, the financial statements, stuff like that. And then now you can actually start to await confirmation and track your ERC refund and stay up to date with the IRS. And that's what we're going to jump to in the next slide. So after you've applied for the ERC, typically refunds take about 6 to 12 weeks. In my experience, it's actually been a little bit longer than that. Especially if you have something that's delaying your application, such as you forgot to populate certain fields, you didn't submit everything that was required with the 941X, or if the IRS finds discrepancies that require additional inquiries, such as a mismatch between what you claim you paid and then maybe what is on file with another government organization. At this point, you can monitor the status through the IRS's website portal. You'll basically log in. There is a portal specifically for the ERC portion of tracking your refund. You're going to put in your business EIN or maybe a social security number if you're a sole proprietor, along with addresses and a bunch of other personal information that only you would know because they're trying to mitigate identity theft. And then you'll be able to see where you are in the queue for processing, if there are delays, next steps, things like that. So now that you know how to check the status of your refund, what's some of the reasons that it would be in delay or maybe in purgatory, if you will? Well, the first thing is if you didn't fill something out correctly, the IRS is probably going to catch it before they write you a check for a couple $100,000, and they're going to either reach out back to you via mail or through the online portal. They may request that you call them. They're never going to call you. The IRS does not initiate via phone calls. If you do receive a call from someone stating that they're with the IRS regarding ERC, you should probably hang up. More than likely, it is a scam. The IRS is always going to reach out via letter. It'll be on official letterhead, and that is how you know that you need to do additional work regarding your ERC refund. Any other issues such as verification issues, if maybe you don't have all the information, or if, let's say, I'm working on your behalf and they don't have a form 2848 that says I have power of attorney to advocate on your behalf, that could also cause delays. The other thing is millions of people applied for this credit. There's a high volume of applications. The IRS is working through that backlog, and that is why it can take sometimes years to get these funds as they do their checks and their due diligence to ensure that they're not squandering taxpayer money. So now that you know how to check the status of your refund and you believe it's stuck in purgatory and it just says processing, then what? Well, you can contact the IRS directly at the phone number listed here. They'll connect you to an IRS agent. Oftentimes you'll find that you can't get through because the call volume is so high. Sometimes you have to call back for days on end. Just dial several times an hour until eventually you get something that's not a busy signal, and then you'll be directed to their phone tree where you'll wait on hold for several hours, and then you'll be able to talk to an IRS agent. If you value your time, I don't recommend that. Typically, I would use online support. I would go to that portal, check and see what they need for their delayed processing. Do I need to email additional documents? I'm sorry, not email. Physically mail additional documents to correct whatever issues they're having. And then the IRS, as previously mentioned, may actually reach out to you first if you haven't been doing your due diligence and staying up to date with it. On letterhead, they'll reach out and they'll say, we're missing this, that your ERC is in delay because of this reason. Please resolve it by doing this. And those are the best ways to contact the IRS for assistance regarding your ERC if it is stuck in processing. The final thing you can do is, if your ERC refund is kind of stuck in limbo, is reach out to a professional. Someone like me, maybe an attorney who can advocate on your behalf. Now, I do want to reiterate, I've mentioned this in other videos and articles, if someone says they can get you their refund faster, don't work with that person. They're lying, they're probably a scam artist. You are at the whim of the IRS. You are at the behest of the IRS. They are going to process your application thoroughly before they release any funds, because it's not their funds to release, it's taxpayer funds. So they want to make sure that everything is watertight. However, if you don't have the time to wait on hold for hours, you can work with a third party like a CPA, like a lawyer, or a dedicated ERC firm who can kind of navigate, answer the questions that the IRS has. You will have to give them power of attorney to basically just even have them to be able to call the IRS on your behalf, because the IRS is not going to give out sensitive information to someone over the phone unless they have that correct documentation. And then the other thing, they can help avoid mistakes. If you use a professional to help claim the credit in the first place, they should be responsible for following up until you have that money in hand and you pay them for their services. So I told you guys this video was going to be pretty brief because it is very easy to check your ERC refund status through the online portal or by calling IRS. But first things first, let's try and make it to where you don't have to follow up with them so often. Review your application before you send it to them. Make sure that everything is watertight, bulletproof, that you're not going to have any misstatements, that everything ticks and ties. What you say you pay is actually what you paid. Make sure you're keeping your documents. Anything that you submit to them, you need to have a copy of. Just make sure to be thorough. Really, that's one of the best ways to keep your ERC credit from being stuck in limbo. If it does get stuck in limbo and you've used the IRS's portal to check in on it and it's just in delayed processing status because it's been caught up with hundreds of thousands of other applications, just follow up. Do your due diligence. Call them monthly, call them bi-weekly. Reach out to them. Let them know that it is causing grievance in your business, it's causing cash flow issues, you need your credit because you are entitled to it, just continue to follow up. Sometimes that's the best case, is to just be persistent until, I hate to say this, until you annoy them enough that they relent and push your application through. Once again, I've mentioned in the past in other videos, if someone says they can get that credit for you, whether it be a third party, a CPA, an accountant, your friend's uncle, they can't. You are once again at the whim of the IRS. They're going to process your application. They're going to ensure that everything is correct, and then they'll release those funds to you. But in the meantime, at least you can be knowledgeable and stay up to date by using their portal to ensure that nothing is being delayed.